Welcome, 8th graders! I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for today's explainer. So today, we're going to learn how to become active detectives of truth. You know, reading is so much more than just staring at words on a page. It's a full-on investigation. When you read, you aren't just absorbing a bunch of letters, right? You're actually searching for meaning, you're decoding secret messages, and you're uncovering the truth that's hidden just beneath the surface. By the end of this, we're going to master a skill that will completely change the way you read, the way you think, and really the way you see the entire world. Okay, let's dive right into this.
Here is our roadmap for today. First up, unlocking the hidden meaning. Second, the formula for inference. Third, fiction versus nonfiction clues. Fourth, testing your inference skills. And finally, we'll wrap things up with the godly learner philosophy.
Okay, unlocking the hidden meaning. Okay, have you ever talked to a friend and they tell you they're fine, but you just know deep down they absolutely aren't fine at all? Well, how do you know? You're probably reading their body language, listening to their tone of voice, or maybe just noticing that look in their eye. You're reading between the lines. And the exact same thing happens when we read a text. Authors, they rarely tell us every single detail up front. They actually expect us to be active participants. Basically, detectives who can unlock the hidden meaning. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates exactly why we're studying this today. Take a look at this verse from Psalm 119:66. Teach me knowledge and good judgment, for I trust your commands. As we pursue our academic goals today, we're actually on a biblical quest. We aren't just learning how to read better so we can, pass some test. We are asking God to teach us good judgment. We want to be able to discern the truth in literally everything we encounter so we can make wise decisions that honor Him.
Section 2. The formula for inference.
So how do we actually do this? How do we find that hidden meaning? Well, it's all about a core academic skill called making an inference. Authors leave us this little trail of breadcrumbs, and we need a reliable system to decode them. An inference is simply drawing a logical conclusion by combining the text clues with your own background knowledge. Think of it like a simple math equation, okay? Text clues plus background knowledge equals inference. You take what the author gives you, you add what you already know about the world, and boom, you arrive at a deeper truth that wasn't even explicitly stated on the page.
So how do we build this into an active, everyday process? Here are your 3 steps for making an inference. Step 1. Find the clues. Highlight them. Underline them. Just pay super close attention to them. Step 2. Add your background knowledge. What do you already know about human behavior, or history, or science that naturally connects to those clues? Step 3. Evaluate your conclusion. Actually ask yourself, does my conclusion make logical sense based on the evidence? If you follow these 3 steps, I promise you, you can tackle absolutely any difficult text that comes your way.
Section 3. Fiction versus nonfiction clues.
Now, our detective work is going to look a little bit different depending on the type of text we're investigating. Making an inference isn't just for stories. It works for articles, essays, speeches, the whole shebang. But what's really interesting is how different types of text require different types of evidence. In fiction, like a novel or a short story, the clues are usually emotional or symbolic. You're making inferences about a character's feelings, their hidden motives, or maybe the overarching theme. But in nonfiction, like a science article, the clues are statistical and factual. There, you're making inferences about real-world causes and effects. The formula is exactly the same, but the clues you're hunting for are totally different.
So, what does this all mean for you? Why does an 8th grader really need this skill? Because being able to use inference in both fiction and nonfiction makes you a flexible, highly critical reader. As you move into advanced schoolwork and eventually into your future careers, no one is just going to hand you all the answers. No way. You'll need to read reports, analyze speeches, understand complex news stories, and be an informed citizen. People are constantly going to try to persuade you, and you absolutely need to be able to read between the lines to figure out what they're really saying.
Section 4. Testing your inference skills.
All right, detectives, it is time to put on your hats. We're going to practice this skill right now with some real examples. I'll give you the clues, and I want you to figure out the hidden meaning. Here's our first example. It's a literary clue from a fiction text. Imagine you're reading a novel. The author writes, "During dinner, the character keeps glancing at the door." That is literally all the text says.
So I want you to pause for a second. What is really happening here? Apply your background knowledge. When you are sitting at a dinner table and someone keeps looking at the door over and over again, what does that mean? What's the logical conclusion we can draw? And here is our inference. They are waiting for someone important, or they're expecting an interruption. Notice how the author didn't have to literally say he was nervous because he was waiting for his boss to arrive. By simply showing the character glancing at the door, the author gave you an emotional behavioral clue, and you used your own background knowledge to uncover the truth of that scene. Great job.
Now let's try a nonfiction example. Here is your informational clue from a science article. The text notes two distinct facts. First, there is a sharp drop in bee populations. Second, this is occurring alongside lower crop yields on farms.
Again, detective hats on. What did these facts tell us about the situation? Fact A, fewer bees. Fact B, fewer crops growing. How does your background knowledge about nature connect these two totally separate pieces of information?
The logical inference here is this. The decline in bees is directly affecting pollination, which in turn is harming our food supply. By combining those factual clues, you've just uncovered a critical, real-world cause and effect relationship. You've read the hidden meaning right behind the statistics.
Let's look at one final mixed example. You know, sometimes authors blend facts with fiction. Let's say you're reading a historical novel that's based on real events. But as you read, your background knowledge tells you that the author actually made changes to the real historical timeline. Why in the world would they do that?
The inference here is that the author's changes are designed to emphasize the personal drama of the characters over strict historical accuracy. The author wants to tell a compelling story, even if it means bending the facts just a little bit. Applying inference here is so helpful because it lets us understand the author's true purpose and prevents us from confusing fiction with actual history.
And because practice makes perfect, here is your homework for this week. First, I want you to make one inference from a fiction text and one from a nonfiction text of your choice and explain the difference and how you found them. Next, find a statistic in a nonfiction article and use it to make an inference. Then, compare an inference you make from a novel to one from a speech. Finally, just write a short paragraph explaining why inference is a useful skill for you outside of school.
Section 5. The Godly Learner Philosophy.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want us to connect everything we've just learned about reading and inference to your everyday walk with God. You see, the academic skill of inference is incredibly closely tied to the spiritual skill of discernment. God calls us to be discerning, to look beyond appearances, and to always seek the truth. Making inferences in reading is literally a practice in discernment, learning to notice what isn't immediately obvious. When you apply this skill with humility and wisdom, you can better understand others, guard against deception, and respond to every situation in life with grace and integrity.
And this brings us right to the core of the HeroesMart Academy philosophy. At HeroesMart Academy, we intertwine biblical morality with education because we firmly believe that education without morality can actually hurt. Actually, giving someone incredible intelligence without a moral compass is dangerous. Romans 8:6-7 teaches us that to be spiritually minded is life and peace. We don't just want you to be smart, we want your mind to be centered on God, truth, and wisdom.
Remember, knowledge and intelligence shouldn't simply make you more capable. They should help you make wise, God-honoring choices. True intelligence is taking the detective skills we learned today, that ability to read between the lines and find the hidden truth, and using them to pursue righteous choices in a really complicated world. We want you to achieve absolute academic excellence for sure, but always with a mind fully surrendered to God.
So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought as we close out today's explainer. How will you use your new detective skills to uncover truth and honor God in what you read today? Whether it's a novel, a news article, or even just a text conversation with a friend, remember to look closer, think deeper, and seek the truth. Thanks for joining me, detectives. Keep your minds spiritually centered and happy reading.